All right. I know this has been a really long set of tutorials, so I'm not going to have this one be very long. I just want to show you a plugin that you can use. It's the plugin I use to make these types of maps. Oopsie, darn it, these types of maps. And I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to make this style of map for this, this particular problem, but it's at least an interesting tool to know how to use, and you can use it with elevation models as well. So the plugin is called let's just see, manage and install plugins. I think it's called there it is. They're always weird, named something strange. QGIS-to-3JS, and it's a really powerful tool. I'm surprised that it doesn't get more usage than I've seen. But go ahead and install that. And what's cool about this is it creates kind of web-ready 3D models. So once you get it installed, open up the exporter here. And I'm actually going to bring in an elevation model as well. Let's bring in our DTMV, that one would be fine. And I've used this a couple times, and so the way it renders is a little clunky, but it takes your map canvas and then just uses those coordinates and kind of, I think it's even just your screen resolution, and then throws them into this exporter. So I don't want it to look this messy, and I want to focus in on a region perhaps. So I'm going to shut these parcels off, and it'll paint whatever the base layer is. So I want to actually make something resembling a base map here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run a hill shade just so I can see something different than a black to white DEM. And I can even just leave this as a temporary file, that's fine. I'm going to run that hill shade, zoom in a little bit. Maybe I'll make this semi-transparent so that it looks a little sexier. That's not too bad. You know, maybe I'm looking, for some reason I'm looking in this region, and I want my canvas to kind of be as big as I can make it. So that will be a little prettier. And so now what I can do is I can just, if I open this up, it's going to look something like this. Yours might not be as exaggerated. By default, I've kind of, like in the past, I've made mine exaggerated. So a couple of different settings you can do. It automatically knew this was an elevation model, so it just used that as the terrain. You can change in the plugins, not the plugin settings, in the scene settings, you can change the vertical exaggeration. I think the default is 1, so you can see how that kind of changes what things look like. Somewhere between 2 and 3 usually is pretty good, but you can kind of be the judge of that. Lots of different settings you can make. I would say take time to make your map canvas look pretty good and solid, and just remember that whenever you scoot your map canvas, it's going to change this. So if you do any exports to other programs like Illustrator, they can get messed up pretty easily. So and it looks like we can change some of the dimensions and stuff, but I'm just going to leave that alone. I'll let you play with that. One of the coolest things about this is that you can also extrude vector layers. So let's say for some reason I wanted a count of parcels, a count of buildable parcels. What I might do is I could take this and I could extrude my core pleth areas, if I wanted to, if they were normalized perhaps, but I can also just take a point file and create kind of columns from it. So if I wanted to do, let's just do a centroid file from the parcels. All right, we'll use the Saga tool because Saga usually pushes things through whether we like it or not. Alright, so there's a bunch of random centroids, and let's say we had an attribute that went along with them. What we could do now that would be kind of cool is let's shut off, maybe the parcels can be, let's make them something less aggressive. We make them like a light yellow. It's not too bad. And then let's make these centroids buildable. Maybe we'll make them green just for now. So if I really wanted to, what I can do now is go back to this tool. And it looks a little goofy, honestly. So I think I'm going to shut this off. But when I go back here, so they're off now, but what I can do is symbolize the points themselves. So I believe, oh, I'm going to have to reopen it because I made those points after I opened this. That's where it's a little wonky. It's like, okay, so let me open it again. There they are now. So now the centroids are showing. And if I want to visualize them, it's like, oh God, what are you doing, Ben? It's like, well, they're all being visualized at kind of a datum height here. But what I want to do is I can make them cylinders or something, you know, depending on what you want to do. You could make them relative to the DEM, so they'll all pop up to the surface of the DEM. You can, and you can alter the height relative to the DEM plus or minus and kind of create an expression there. I'll just leave the color to the light green that our feature style is. You can also you can create an expression that defines the color. Maybe we want it to be, they're going to be all over the place, so we'll make them 75% transparent or opaque. And it looks like the radius is a little big. It says that that's 224. I'm pretty sure that's going to be meters, so let's make them a 100-meter radius. And the height, I'm just going to hit apply and we'll see what happens. So now we've got these cones everywhere, but let's make it even skinnier. Maybe they're 50-meter radius. And we're going to, the height, let's change the height to be the height is going to be the buildable area. I'm not recommending you do this. This is kind of a, this is a little bit wonky, but I just want to show you that it's possible. So you can use this tool to do a lot of these types of things. So I'm going to hit apply now. And now we're seeing a very dramatic kind of buildable area as a raw figure. You might think, well, why is it so crazy? And it's because it's a raw number and it's being represented vertically in meters. So to make this a little less insane, we would want to scale it, so we could divide it by 10 or something like that. Let's just see if that does anything useful at all. A little bit better. Yeah, so anyway, I think you can kind of get a sense that you could mess with this tool for a long time. Let's just see if we can add another 0, apply. And you do have to mess with it a lot to come up with something legible. But what's cool is that you can bring this into Illustrator. If you really want to, you can bring it into Blender. So anyway, this is a very imperfect, I haven't really done any homework on what my values are or what I'm representing. But it's kind of cool. It's a cool tool. And the best thing about it is that you can export it to the web if you want, which means you can make a directory that's an HTML file with some linked things, and you could upload that to GitHub, and you could have some type of visual like this that would be on the web, and you could kind of just share it with people. And it has some basic functionality with labeling, and you can select different objects, and they have attributes and things like that. So I'm showing you this tool not to confuse you, but if you want to try to use it to create some 3D models, it's a soft entry into that. All right, if you'd like to explore that, come into office hours and we can troubleshoot together. So, all right, enjoy. I hope you have a good week, and I'll be available as needed.